You guys got me? All right. How we doing?
Jimmie, how do you feel your offensive line performed on Saturday?
I was really happy with how that group performed. Kind of talked a lot about it leading up, and those guys played as how they've practiced, throughout fall camp and kind of all the lead up time of all the time that they spent working to get better in the weight room, nutrition, whatever it might be, and then going out there and executing a game plan. And Colorado State posed some problems. There was a lot of movement, a lot of moving pieces up front, a lot of pressures, things like that those guys had to deal with, and I thought they did a fantastic job. Really proud of them.
So kind of going off that, it was something like a 70% blitz rate that they threw at you guys. Is that something that you might expect a little bit more going forward, just considering what Deven brings in the game?
I don't know about that. I mean, we knew going into the game that Colorado State, that was their MO, was to try to create havoc and try to get you in some negative plays at times by creating that pressure. So we kind of knew that going into the game. Whether or not that goes, moving forward, just kind of looking at each opponent individually. But it's always something we're going to be prepared for and be ready for.
Last year, it seemed like with Jonah, at the beginning of the season, the first 4, 5, 6 games, he was getting well under 20 carries a game. This week he had 25, which is the most he's ever had. Was that part of the game plan going in, is to give him that many carries, or is just the way the game went?
I mean, I think we always want Jonah touching the ball. Good things happen when he touches it. Everybody knows about how well he breaks tackles and things like that. Just good things happen with the ball in his hands. So that's something that we're always going to go into every game wanting to make sure that he's touching it. I think it probably goes hand in hand, right, though? I mean, the O-line did a great job. The scheme was well designed. The guys did a good job executing it. So keep going back to it, right? But no doubt we want Jonah touching the ball for sure, any game,
With Deven, I'm curious how last season helped him, where you saw situations where he was put in very difficult positions, second half at Penn State, going against Oregon, number 1 team in the country, number 4 team in the country. And in the moment, it probably was pretty painful for him at times. There was mistakes, and he was hit a bunch and trying to figure everything out. But how do you see him as a better player now because of those experiences? Where are the specific places where that, where you can see the growth there?
Yeah, I thought he made great decisions with the ball in the game on Saturday. There's a couple of throws maybe that he wishes he could have put out there maybe a little bit more, been a little more accurate. Whatever the reasons were are things that we'll correct. But overall, I mean, completed 75% of his passes, no turnovers. The ball really wasn't in jeopardy at all. Did a nice job of, when to run. We've talked about that a lot leading up throughout camp and into the first game. Just, all right, you're a great athlete, but when do you do what, right? Like, when do you take off and run? When do you sit in the pocket and have time to throw the ball? Didn't have a lot of time the other night just because of what they were doing, but I thought he just did a good job of managing and controlling the game for the most part. You could see the poise and just the experience kind of come out as the full-time starter going into the year. So I thought that really showed. A couple times, when he did get sacked, those were more coverage sacks more than anything. They did a nice job on the back end, covered it. We had one where we missed an alert and just didn't execute the play very well. So some of those weren't on him, and then there was another sack that he got sacked and empty, and we just got to do a better job in our protection on that one. But I thought he was very, very in command the whole game.
Do you feel like you put a lot of stress on the defense with your big 3 offensive weapons, meaning Deven and Jonah and Denzel? You almost hit a 57-yard touchdown pass on the second or third play of the game, and then you had Jonah running in from 26 on the 6th play of the game, and it just seemed like there was a lot of pressure on Colorado State to deal with all 3 of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time from a standpoint of we want to be explosive. Explosive plays is how you score in college football, making those big plays down the field. And I think those guys have done a great job of working harder to be faster and quicker and just be even better than what they were before. I think you saw that on Saturday night. There's other guys that can make plays too, though. And, just the coverage dictated it or the play dictated whatever it was. Jonah got loose, like you said, a couple times. But just good execution on our end is something that we're always looking forward to. It wasn't perfect at times. There's some stuff we got to clean up. But overall, the guys executed the game plan. Deven made good reads and put the ball where those guys could go make plays. And obviously, like we talked about, the O-line and Jonah did a great job in the running game as well.
With your tight ends, Decker had a couple of catches, but Quentin seemed, especially down on the goal lines, looked like he had a couple of really nice blocks and sealed the edge. How did Quentin Moore grade out?
As far as his grade, I'm not sure the exact number, but we know he's a very physical guy. I mean, he's definitely a weapon in the running game. Can do some great things there. And, just again, the coverage maybe dictated where he didn't get the ball because, they did a good job covering him. And maybe he was the first read on one that comes to mind, and they just did a good job covering it. So him touching the ball in the pass game just was more a thing of, Damon going through his read and going, past him on that one. But he's a tremendous blocker. We know that. And like I said, and even with Decker, he's a versatile guy that can really do both. Wish we could have hit the one where we kind of had him out on the rail on the fake screen, but great route by him. But, he's always going to be a threat in the pass game, but also does a really good job in the run game as well.
Last year you had Zach Henning. I know it was because of depth issues, but you had Zach over at tight end a little bit. Do you foresee him just out there as an extra offensive?
I mean, you never know. You never know. We know he can do that. We know he can execute those plays for us and do a nice job for us there. Certainly nice having a guy like Q Moore, though, where, again, the more guys you have that can do multiple things and you're not kind of handcuffed or playing left-handed, so to speak, the better for an offense. And to have guys that can do all that stuff is definitely a benefit for us.
Jimmie, there was a play, I think it was in the second half, going towards the lake, where Devon, about 5 or 6 yards downfield, decided to take on a safety head on. Is that a conversation that you'll have with him, as if to say, just don't do that, get down?
Yeah, the first chance I had to talk to him, I told him, like, hey man, like we don't need you taking those hits unnecessarily. He's such a competitor, I mean, it's hard for him at times to either get down or get out of bounds or whatever it might be. He's just such a competitor, and he's going to do whatever it takes to go move the chains or get in the end zone. But there's no question, it's a long season, and we want him to be as healthy as can be and trying to avoid those big hits the best we can.
Were you comfortable, I guess, for lack of a better term, with the amount of hits he was taking in that game Saturday night?
We're never comfortable with that. Ideally he'd take really none, or just the ones that he takes off as a ball carrier potentially. But like I said earlier, Colorado State was doing a lot. They were heating us up, bringing 6-7 guys, really doing a good job of pressuring us, which we knew they were going to do coming into the game. So there was a couple times maybe he took some hits, got rid of the ball on a few, which is what we had talked to him about, like making sure he stands in there and gets rid of the ball, which he did, make a couple really good plays, got hit but still completed the ball. But no doubt, that's always something we're going to focus on and make sure we do a good job of protecting him and doing the best we can take hits off of him.
What impressed you the most about Mohammed in this first game?
I mean, Adams had a great camp, and I think the chances that he had, the screen pass comes to mind. That was a really big play in the game, making a huge play for us on that third and long. And then you saw his value in special teams too. Again, that's a huge weapon back there, running back that's as big as he is and as fast as he is, catching a kickoff return. So he's going to keep being a part of our game plans, and we're super excited about him.
Coach Dougherty.
Deven Bryant, how do you grade out?
Yeah, we were happy with Raiden. It didn't show up maybe in the stat line, but as we always say as coaches, like that doesn't mean he didn't necessarily play bad. There's a couple times he ran some great routes, and just the protection or the time that Damon had didn't really play out for him to have a chance to go make a play for us. But ran good routes, got open on numerous times. The first touchdown that Jonah had, he comes in fly sweep motion. We fake the fly sweep to him, and he ends up getting a block off the edge that sprung Jonah. And so there's other ways you can affect the game and play well. Biggest thing with him was just and with Dez too, and some of John Mills, like we talked going into the game, like seeing them do it on game day in Husky Stadium, like that was a big thing going into the game, because you just never know. You just don't know coming out of fall camp, guys that haven't done it, true freshmen or guys that haven't played much, and you want to see what they look like when the lights are on.
Last time your fullback had a touchdown.
Yeah, I can't remember the last one, but that was pretty cool getting that for Cade. Like Coach mentioned, being a kid from in-state and just how hard he's worked, and he's done everything that we've asked of him since he's gotten here, and has given us some really cool flexibility in terms of what we can do with him as a tight end, fullback type hybrid guy.
You see Jonah every day at practice, but when he does it under the lights like he did on Saturday, how different experience is it for you personally from the sideline?
Yeah, I mean, I love watching him play football. He's a special football player. I've said it many times, how much we think of him. We think he's the best running back in the country. He's a great player, and he's also a great person. He's one of those guys that you just root for. Works so hard in practice. You know, he earns everything he gets, and it's always exciting though. You know, you just almost count on the fact that he's going to break a tackle or a few tackles every time he touches the ball. He's just so hard to bring down. And like I said, I think you saw he's a little more explosive, you know, than he was even last year because of how hard he worked to change his body. Did a great job in the weight room in the off season, and I think you saw that explosion come out on Saturday. All right, thank you guys. Go Dogs.
Thank you.
Coach, overall thoughts on your defensive front, how they performed on Saturday night?
I thought, just talking about the defense as a whole, got to give Colorado State a lot of credit. Jay's a great coach. They threw kitchen sink at us early in that game. I thought our guys responded well to adapting and to be able to adjust some things schematically in game, and it sort of got them out of that two quarterback package. I thought the guys up front were disruptive, maintaining gap integrity, especially, like I said, after we made those adjustments on the sideline and at halftime. They were able to sort of get what we needed to get done, in that second half especially.
How do you feel they performed from a standpoint of getting pressure on the quarterback?
Yeah, you look at on the quarterback's drop back passing game, I think he was getting the ball out in like 2.19 seconds. And I know we don't keep track of like quarterback hurries here, but if you look at the PFF stats, there were 15 hurries accounted for, and so you got 2.19 operation and 15 hurries. Those guys were making them uncomfortable, which is why I think they were 3 of 13 on third downs, and the completion percentage wasn't that high. That's because he was uncomfortable. So I thought they did a good job of forcing the issue, and I'm sure the sacks will come, as we get into play.
Is Durfee, he had a lost season last year where he just didn't ever unwind for him. Is he still kind of coming back? I know he's ruled healthy, but is he still trying to find his rhythm, I guess?
I thought he played well. Like I said, it didn't show up on the stat sheet, but I thought he was disruptive. He got back there and caused some pressures. So I think he's playing confident. He's playing physical, and one of the third down stops, he took up 3 blockers and was disruptive, and Buddha was able to scrape over the top and get a TFL. So I think he's right where he's supposed to be.
Coach said yesterday that the freshmen that played this last week, we could pretty much anticipate them not redshirting. Can you tell me what you've seen out of Devin Hyde to make that decision with Devin?
Yeah, Devin is a high motor guy. Physically, he doesn't look like a freshman. He's always been disruptive and aggressive, and anytime you play with that sort of physicality, that mindset, and that motor, you're going to find yourself on the field because you're making plays. And so he consistently made plays and progressed throughout fall camp. And when he got in there on Saturday night, he played well.
When you look at UC Davis this week, how is their quarterback going to cause you problems that maybe Brayton Fowler-Nicolosi did in the Colorado State game?
Yeah, he extends plays with his legs. They've got some schemes for him to run the ball, especially when he gets in a red area. He scrambles around and keeps his eyes downfield, and he'll take some chances. You can tell he's a smart kid. They run a very complex offense, a lot of shifts, a lot of motions, a lot of misdirection plays, and he knows how to operate that system. And they play with tempo, and so anytime you got an offense that operates that way, with a quarterback that's a redshirt freshman and he's clicking the way he's clicking, he's an intelligent individual. So, definitely poses a different type of problem, different type of skill set than we saw last week.
The run defense seemed like it got better as the game went on. Was it any specific adjustments that really helped you guys, or was it just a matter of guys maybe settling in the first game?
No, it was all adjustments. I've watched every clip that they ran a year ago, and it was like a completely different team. That especially those first 2-3 drives. So kudos to our guys and the staff for making those adjustments. And hey, when we see this type of block, we got to spill instead of lever. In the running backs in this position, we got to do X, Y, Z. And so to see them make those adjustments in game, that was definitely encouraging. I've been a part of teams where it takes series and a halftime and sometimes a game to get that communicated properly. And we rotated a lot of guys, and so they were all locked in on the sideline and seeing the corrections being made from guys that might have been in the game previously. So was very pleased at that. From my perspective, it gives me a lot of confidence in them to be able to make adjustments on the fly and go execute, without practicing some of those plays. And so was really happy with that for sure.
Seeing Jonah Coleman from a defensive perspective every day in practice, what impresses you the most?
Man, he's he's a great teammate. Like you talk about a guy that is fully invested in the program, fully invested in making his teammates better. He doesn't have a bad day. High motor, extremely competitive. I think back to like the spring game where we had a turnover and, he's chasing the guy all the way down the field and makes a diving tackle like in a spring game. So that's just a small snippet onto who he is and what type of player he is. So it was definitely fun to see him play against another opponent. Him and Damon. Those guys are electric and fun to watch. And even more so because of the type of people they are.
In the pass to their tight end that tied the game,
Yeah.
21, it sure seemed like the official missed a call, and Ephesian, recognized that they weren't an eligible receiver. But can you talk about your conversation with that Ephesian, and could you guys have done anything different on that?
Man, so Ephie's a very bright individual, and he definitely can count to 11. And so, just based off the backfield set, the formation, and seeing that the number one receiver was off the ball, number two was on, just by process of elimination, he was anticipating a different play because, his guy was technically supposed to be ineligible. Obviously, you wish, that number 19 was getting the majority of the targets. So, Aaron on the side of caution there, but you love the pre-snap anticipation just off of counting numbers. So hopefully that won't happen again. But I didn't downgrade him because of his reaction to what the formation was.
Did you have done anything different?
I mean, look on the side and talk to the official and say, hey, that guy's, they don't have enough on the ball.
What did they tell you? Because there was a conversation there on the side.
Yeah, sorry. I can't go into the details of the conversation. I'll leave that up for Coach Fish.
How important will it be for your D-line to get Logan and Deshaun back this week?
Huge. Anytime you have those type of guys and that type of depth up front, especially moving forward as we get into, some Big Ten play in a couple weeks, we need everybody. It's going to take everybody. And those guys were very productive in the springtime, and so I'm looking forward to getting them back.
They had a couple of plays on you early, but overall, I think you had 10 series and 5 of them were 3 and outs. You feel pretty good about that there was that much cohesiveness at least at that part of it.
Yeah, I think like you said, there was 10 drives, we had 5 3 and outs, and then 1, third down interception. So anytime you can get off the field and give the ball back to the offense quickly, that's the recipe for winning football. The drive at the end of half is one that you want back. The second drive of the game, hats off to Colorado State. Like I said, that was threw the kitchen sink at us and forced us to adjust. But overall, I felt like our guys didn't flinch. I think it was good to have a game like that early against a quality opponent, where it puts stress on you, it puts a little bit of pressure on you and forces you to have to make plays at crucial moments in the game. And I thought our guys responded well. That's something that we can draw from and build off of moving forward.
Anything else?
Awesome.
I think we're gonna get started with defense. We'll open up for questions for either of the two.
You guys both started your first Husky football game last weekend. You feel good about the development of yourselves? I mean, I think you're third year, both of you? Yeah. And to become starters at that point is kind of like a normal progression?
Yeah, I feel like, both of us, the work we put in this offseason and just the attention to detail that we both had, spending, countless hours in the film room, getting extra work for the mentals, and then physically getting our bodies right. I feel like we've just been on that course of development, and it's paid off.
Yeah, further off what he said, I think since we got here, we just continue to get better over the years and just keep progressing and diving into each different playbook that we had to learn and just mastering our craft as best as we could.
Jacob, how would you assess your performance at 6 tackles, 2 TFLs? How did you grade out and everything?
Yeah, I think, I came out ready to play. I think our whole defense did a good job overall. Obviously some drives and plays we could have back, but I think, I came out ready to play just with the mindset of just taking each play one step at a time and going hard to every play, playing with the high motor and stuff.
Jacob, you've been obviously in this stadium for games before as a player, probably as a fan, I'm guessing, but I'm just wondering, when you thought about first start, probably picturing that or trying to mentally envision that, was it what you expected it to be? What was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, I knew, with it being my first start, I had to go out and perform my best and play with that mentality that I'm going to be able to go out there and make plays and help us win the game. So I think, yeah.
And when you get the early chase down, I think in that first series, does it take a play like that? Does that kind of release the adrenaline and get you into it, or what was it like being able to make a play early on to sort of get you in the groove?
Yeah, I think that helped kind of get me in a groove, just got me going right away for sure. And I think I fed off that energy throughout the rest of the game for sure.
Deven, how did you feel like the run defense performed? It seemed like it got better as the game went on.
Yeah, I mean, like what Coach Rogers was just saying, they came out with some stuff that we hadn't seen before. So it was just we just had to play by our rules. And as the game went on, we adjusted to what they were able to do, and we were able to get them out of what they wanted to do coming into the game. So we adjusted pretty well.
Walter said that there were, like you said, a series of adjustments. Was there any one thing that really helped you maybe as the game went on?
Well, on a lot of the plays, they would take the second quarterback, and motion him out of the backfield, and then bring him back. So just knowing that I had him to run with him and those kind of things, and then just knowing where to fit certain plays. So that helped. So yeah.
Jacob, has it been kind of strange with your edge rushers? There was supposed to be this real overload of talent, and it looked like a lot of them got hurt and are coming back still. Durfee's coming back off his season, and Isaiah Ward's coming off his injured ankle, and Deshaun Lynch hasn't been able to play. Does that put extra pressure on somebody like you that's been healthy the whole time?
I wouldn't say it's been added pressure. I mean, I definitely know that, with those guys, dealing with the injuries they had, I had to come out and be ready to perform because we needed a guy there that's going to be healthy and ready to make plays and make a difference. So I wouldn't say necessarily added pressure, but definitely made me have to get going a little a little faster.
Strange. Even I didn't mention Deuce and Davis, and he's out for the season. It's just like a lot of guys just kind of got dinged up all of a sudden when you were supposed to have long lines of people contending for starting spots.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are working really hard to get back, obviously, so it'd be good to have them back. Yeah.
From practice, how difficult is it to take down Jonah, and what makes it difficult if it is?
You know, he always runs really hard. He's a big guy. He's strong, but he's also, you know, he's got some shake to him, got some elusiveness. So you really just have to be honest, making sure you're not getting a little too nosy, letting him, because he'll cut to the outside a lot of times if he sees that space. He's got good vision too. So he's definitely a playmaker, a big playmaker for us. And I think getting to practice against him all year just sets us up well going into, you know, some of our Big Ten games. They're going to have good athletes too. So I think he's a big difference maker for us, obviously, and it helped us get better as a defense.
Jonah said his bedtime's 10:30, and the game got over about then. What kind of adjustments do you have to make for these 8 o'clock games?
You know, there's a lot of anticipation. You know, you're waiting around at the hotel all day. So I think just kind of remaining in that zone, you know, not getting too high, too low throughout the day, and just making sure we're resting our bodies throughout the day and getting ready to go when game time comes.
What time do you get to bed?
Bed, probably like 11, somewhere around there for sure. Wake up at like 8 or something.
Yeah, I think I went to bed like 10:30, 11. So, yeah.
That's our curfew.
Dev, you kind of mentioned playing out of like your principles, especially when you're making all these changes on the fly. What are the principles for playing linebacker in this defense?
You got to be able to adjust to things on the fly. I mean, some things you're not gonna know exactly what they get on. You just got to react. So just living by your rules and playing out the rules that we've installed throughout the January to now. Yeah, I would say that's probably what helped me the most. So.
What are some of those rules?
Just rules like if you're supposed to lever or spill the play, things of that nature. If you have man eyes or zone eyes, things like that. Yeah.
Did you have a moment at all, being a first-time starter and out there, you know, most of the game? Did you have kind of a come-to-starter moment out on the field that was unique or anything?
I'd probably say my first tackle was probably like that moment. I was like, okay, it's time to go. Yeah, let's do it. That was probably like the moment. So, yeah.
Good, all right, thank you guys. All right, go ahead.
Carver, you got your first game at left tackle under your belt in a couple of years. How do you feel you settled into the position now?
Yeah, good. I'm not exactly thrilled. I always say it's great to like win your first game and do it in like a good way. But I think the best feeling in football was kind of having a really good performance week 1 with a win, but still feeling like you left a lot on the table. And I'd say that's certainly how I feel and how I think a lot of guys on the offense feel is although it was a good week 1, like personally I made a lot of just stupid decisions that I was probably like thinking too much or doing too much stuff that it's stuff that can be easily corrected. And so although I feel good, I'm looking forward to making those corrections.
You put on almost 20 pounds that you got here in Seattle. Do you wish you'd done that sooner in your career? Or, I mean, are you at an NFL weight now, or how would you explain all that?
Well, I can tell you it was not from lack of effort earlier in the career. I always try to put on weight. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. Sometimes you have to take a new approach, and that's something the staff has really, really helped me with, and I'm very grateful for. As far as NFL weight goes, you know, we all kind of know you show up and they tell you what you're playing at, and you go, yes, sir. I hope to obviously be more in that range, but you really won't know until you get there.
Was there one thing that was able to enable you to put on this weight since you came to Seattle? Good restaurants, Dick's Drive-In? I don't know.
I haven't actually had Dick's Drive-In yet. I've been recommended, but I haven't had it yet. I think my go-to Stoneway. Stoneway is great. And it's right, I live in Queen Anne, so it's on the way to the stadium, and their burritos and yogurt parfait just will never fail to be delicious. So.
Been to a lot of stadiums in your career, but your first game at Husky Stadium, can you give us a little bit of
So sick.
game day review?
Yeah, so cool. Great environment, really cool fans. I think UW's kind of like a slept-on fan base because obviously you have like the Mariners and the Kraken and the Seahawks and everything that like those fan bases are like really recognized, and so I think the college fan base just isn't as recognized. But man, the fans were sick. Everyone was fully in the game, loud, getting after it, and it was great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Carver, this is your second season protecting like a younger dual threat QB, very similar in terms of both guys had played some as a freshman. I'm just curious what your experience was of Demond, what you took away from his poise, kind of the way he handled things in the huddle. Obviously, you practiced with him in scrimmage, but just seeing him out there, what was kind of your takeaways of being around him going through Saturday?
Just poise and joy. I mean, he's very clear-headed, and he enjoys every moment out there. It's two of the biggest things I kind of took away. Also loves contact. It's rare that a quarterback will kind of stick his hat in there and be like, no, I don't really want to run out of bounds. I'd rather take those 3-4 yards. That's rare. That's one thing that we noticed, even to the point some guys are like, hey, slide once in a while. But no, he great poise, very calm, cool, collected the whole time, and just full of joy. Just absolutely loves every second being out there, and it's really cool. When you can see him just being him lift up other guys. So that's really cool to have.
Adam, that was your first touchdown at UW Saturday because you keep the ball.
It ended up in my locker somehow. It had the time, the date, and all that. So it was pretty cool. It's hanging up in my room right now.
It was pretty obvious to most of us that this offensive line looks different than it did a year ago. Not to disparage those guys from last season, but can you talk about just kind of what you're seeing in improvement from the line that you were running behind a year ago versus the one that you ran behind on Saturday?
For sure, this group's a lot closer. I mean, we scrambled last year to get a whole bunch of guys. I mean, there was like, I don't even remember. There was like 9 offensive linemen last spring. 7. But yeah, we all just a lot closer for real. That's about it. Closer, and then it's just spending more time together, just getting that bond closer and just trusting each other.
Carver, how do you think Adam ran on Saturday?
It's kind of hard for me to tell. I usually don't actually really get to see the running back that much, unless it's like a big run. But, you know, Adam obviously ran well. Jonah obviously ran well. You know, it's 2 guys that aren't very hard to block for. Yeah, no, it was really cool to be in there for his first touchdown. That was awesome. But yeah, no, Adam ran very well on Saturday.
Carver, you are definitely the old guy on the offensive line. No?
Garen's older, so let's do that. Garen Hatchie is 24. I'm 23, so not the oldest. I'm older, but not the oldest.
One of.
There we go.
Okay, but I think you got an 18, 19-year-old high school kid starting to your right. Can you tell us a little bit about the conversations you had with him during the game?
So he's actually 17, which is even wilder. But no, he if you know John Mills, he's a guy that he's gonna come in, look to make plays, and then he really has a really good sense of being able to play one play at a time. He's going to go out there, try his absolute hardest, and if he makes a mistake, he's going to fix it the next play, and he'll be fine. So we actually didn't have that many conversations. The conversations we more had was like me asking, like, what do you need here? Or like me being like, hey, I need this here. And it was like, okay, that works. It was really simple. But it is, to your credit, very odd that I spend most of my time with a 17-year-old as a 23-year-old. So.
When you turn 24?
I just turned 23, so I turn 24 next April. So, still a young buck at heart.
Was there a good John Mills story on the field? Does he talk to the other guys, trash talk them, things like that, or punish people extra?
Well, I think we all try to play physical. He certainly comes in. I think John and I try and play football the same way, which is if you can get a guy on the ground, why wouldn't you? And so he certainly had some moments where, yeah, you know, if I can get a guy on the ground and land on him, why wouldn't I do that? But at least I didn't notice, like, a lot of, like, talking to the other guys. He's more of a celebrate with his own kind of guy. So anytime, like, him and I had a good play, we'd come back to the huddle and be like, that was sick. And I was like, yeah, that was a pretty good block. But he didn't run over and get in anyone's face. I don't know if he's that kind of guy.
Adam, can you talk a little bit about your kickoff returns and what it's like being back there with Jonah? Are you guys saying it's coming to me, it's not coming to me? Talk a little bit about that dynamic and just your critique your kickoff returns.
It's amazing being back, returning again. It's been a while since high school, actually. So just being back there, it feels good. I'm just hoping to flip the field every time I go out there and just hopefully get the offense great field position and potentially score one.
What do you learn from Jonah from being out there with him? What do you take from watching his running game?
Just try to make the cuts he makes, being as patient as he does, and just trying to get little bits of his game and add it to my game.
What was the inspiration for the new look?
I just wanted to switch it up. I dyed it in high school, so I just wanted to do it again.
You dyed out here, or do you have someone back in Arizona who does it for
I
you?
dyed it out here.
Okay.
Anything else with these two guys?